Greetings. This is Celebration. My name is John Savers. I'm your host. And today we'll continue with our series, Jews and Their Culture. Now, for those of you new to Celebration, this is a program which looks at peoples and their cultures and tries to get a better understanding of what makes them tick. Now, of course, many of the peoples and cultures are generally known to the TV viewer, and as such are familiar in that way. We think that a good deal of information is omitted, which precludes the average person having a well-rounded view. Now, we do note the many pieces that have been done on various peoples and cultures, from everything from National Geographic to public television to the networks and so forth. There is already abundant material, and we note this. We think that this is overall pretty good stuff, but we think that there are gaps, that there are missing pieces. So it is our view to sort of acknowledge what is already known. We think that there's much good, but we also want to take a look at things more mundane, bearing in mind Hannah Arendt's comment about the banality of evil. We think the mundane does bear some scrutiny. Now also we'll look at the bad side at times, and try to see how this all plays in putting together a more rounded picture of the people that we're talking about, the culture we're talking about at a given point. So this is our approach. We do think of ourselves as being a sort of an educational program. Now, some people are not too happy about should we say, the thorns on the rose being shown and so forth, aired. But, you have to take the bad with the good. And so we do hope that people will take a larger look and understand the good as being there when they hear the bad. Now, we have in the past looked upon, in this particular series, looked upon Jews, Jewry, what is a Jew, what can be made here, and understanding according to the flesh. And we did spend several programs trying to make an understanding of Jewry according to the flesh. And we proceeded after that to take a look at the fundamental concepts to be found within Jewry. This is a rich culture with many people over many years putting forth ideas. And we've touched on some of these, and we are right now focused, and have been, on the Talmud and the Kabbalah, which we view as being especially important in understanding the Jewish culture. Now, these ideas have also at times been shown in a practical way, sort of the idea in action, so that sort of examples might be given. And sometimes these examples have been a little bit on the perverse side, but this is, I guess, subjective, so that when these deeds which seem destructive and harmful are done, from my point of view, perhaps from the Jewish perspective, it's really not much to think about, not much to be upset about. So there is perspective always. So with that in mind, let's go forward. We're going to give those who have not had any touch on this particular subject, have not watched this program, have no idea what the Kabbalah is all about, and so forth. We're going to give them a brief initiation, and this will also reinforce the idea for those who've had some taste of it by now. So let's do that. Every mystical tradition aims at union with the ultimate one. This state of total realization is obtained by balance and the raising of consciousness up through all the levels of existence to the source itself. Now this is a citation from Ziv ben Shimon Halevi, The Way of Kabbalah, Introduction, page 11. Now, most of the older viewers will immediately connect with that expression, raising consciousness. Those who have gone through the 60s, mid-60s to the 80s, must have encountered this expression very often. For me, I've seen it so often. Its abundance in verbally and in print really makes its a thing, so to speak, a characteristic of the period. Now this particular expression resonates, of course, with the Eastern religions, the mystery religions, and particularly Hinduism, but also Buddhism and the rest. So we do note that. We also note the prominence of Jews in this particular matter of consciousness raising. And perhaps this citation makes it a little bit better understood. One, for instance, changed his name to Ram Das and became an international guru after studying in India for a little bit. This particular fellow, by the way, was associated with Mr. Leary, the Harvard professor who became famed for his LSD studies and his becoming something of a guru on that particular matter. Of course, LSD was thought to raise consciousness at one time, as well as many other mind-altering drugs. Of course, sometimes the consciousness raising didn't occur, bad trips and all, and whatnot. But at any rate, this does kind of give you a practical understanding of this particular topic. There were other matrices, so to speak, of consciousness raising, and I would just say that Freemasonry, the English Freemasonry, was important in this, and also the Frankish Institute of Germany, and the contributions of Jews to these two areas has been important. But to bring this to your mind, particularly in regard to Freemasonry, please consider. Rabbi Ben Mosek told the World Fellowship, "What is certain is that Masonic theology is only theosophy at bottom and corresponds to that of the Kabbalah. Those who will take the trouble to examine with care the connection between Judaism and philosophic Freemasonry, theosophy, and the mysteries in general will cease to smile at the suggestion that the Kabbalistic theology may have a role to play in the religious transformation of the future. It contains the key to the modern religious problem." Now this is a citation from Mr. Eustace Mullins, The Curse of Canaan, pages 105 and 106. Now people, so that you may have another source on this particular subject, please consider. In Freemasonry, a European offshoot of Kabbalah, a man may have to spend years taking part in a ceremony before he is allowed to conduct it. This is a citation from Ziv ben Shimon Halevi, The Way of Kabbalah, pages 190, 191. Well, now that the viewer has some idea of the participants in this particular Judaist subject, Let us take a little moment for the newer viewers to go through the idea of Kabbalah. Please consider. It is everyone's birthright, but few appreciate the laws that govern the universe and human development. It is the task of a spiritual tradition to set out these laws and show how to apply them. In the mystical tradition of Israel, these active and passive aspects of the Torah, or teaching, are called practical and speculative Kabbalah. As studies, they provide the necessary training for direct experience. Kabbalah means to receive, and this is only possible when the two disciplines are united in a man's being. Such a spiritual event expresses in human terms the law of the triad, which brings the universe into existence and returns it to its origin again. From the one to the appearance of opposites and their relationship is a step out of infinity into the finite world. Now this is a citation of Zev ben Shimon Halevi, The Way of Kabbalah, the introduction, page 11. Well now, some viewers may be saying, one? One? What is that? Is that God? Well, people, I'm just a novice myself at this, so I want you to understand that, but it does seem to me that Rabbi Halevi is referring to the Godhead here. But so that I can maybe give you a better understanding of what he is getting at, let me have him explain it himself. Please consider. God does not exist. God is beyond existence. God is ayin, no thing. Out of no thing comes Ein Sof, or the infinite all. Within Ein Sof's boundlessness, something comes into unmanifest reality. It is hidden in the utter stillness and concealed within the complete silence. Some Kabbalists call this the place without end. Now this is a citation, again, from Zev ben Shimon Halevi, The Way of Kabbalah, page 27. So people, I believe that after that citation, the expression one is not really something to be to get upset about because you can't understand it and so forth. Basically, it would be hard for anyone to understand if God is no thing beyond existence and so forth. So it's hard to visualize no thing. So don't worry. But at any rate, we do perceive that such a God would be hard to visualize, to understand, to know. Well, is there any hope for humankind in dealing with such a God? Well, consider. The inner tradition is a continuous line. Kabbalah, it is said, goes back to the angels who were instructed by God. Mankind is taught by the chief archangel, Metatron, who, apocalyptic legend says, is the transfigured Enoch, the man who walked with God and did not taste death. Genesis 5:24. Metatron, legend says, has manifested throughout history as various great teachers, one of whom may have been Melchizedek, the king without father or mother, who initiated Abraham into the line, Genesis 14:18 through 20. Abraham in turn taught his son, Isaac, who passed the teaching on to Jacob. When Jacob became Israel, the father of the 12 types of all humanity, only Levi was capable of transmitting the teaching. Moses, a Levite, continued the line, passing it on to Joshua and the elders of Israel. Solomon possessed the key, but lost it when he drifted off into the worship of other gods. This caused the ending of the kingdom and the eventual destruction of the temple, which symbolized and embodied the teaching in its architecture. With the outer manifestation gone, the teaching went underground during the exile to Babylon, but returned again with the Great Assembly of Ezra. From here on, it ran parallel to Orthodox Judaism, but always discreetly hidden, so that while the learned studied the Bible and its commentary, which became the Talmud, there were also those who contemplated and practiced the Ma'aseh Bereshit, the work of creation, or study of the universe, and the Ma'aseh Merkabah, work of the chariot, or the study of man. Both these studies were considered highly secret, and yet, as with all esoteric doctrines, they remained concealed not because anyone hid them, but because they were simply unintelligible to anyone who had no interest in the upper worlds. Now this is a citation from Zev ben Shimon Halevi, The Way of Kabbalah, pages 16 and 17. Well, of course, this is one form of interpretation of the tree of life, the Kabbalah. I don't think that there is probably a better general rundown of the Jewish perspective on this, at least that of the Kabbalist, the mystical Jewish wing. Although it's not always clear and satisfactory, we do not think that Enoch was spared death, but rather that he sleeps fully a saint when called upon at the end. But we also don't see the sons of Jacob Israel as being types per se of all humanity, and we don't really we don't see this business too clearly. It's not really credible to us that this is an extremely secret line of thought on the one hand, and on the other hand, open to all, and anyone who is interested might participate. The fault being their lack of intelligence and willingness to participate. Something is a little strange here. I don't think you would use the word underground if it was fully available to all. At any rate, let's see if we can get some corroboration of this matter of Babylon. Mr. Halevi, Rabbi Halevi, seems to put forth that this line pre-existed the events of the captivity at Babylon, but this does not seem to be a view completely shared. Let me give you a citation. The return from Babylon and the adoption of the Babylonian Talmud marks the end of Hebrewism and the beginning of Judaism. This is a citation from evangelist Ted R. Weiland, God's Covenant People, page 277, citing Rabbi Stephen Samuel Wise, quoted by Bertrand L. Compariton, Can Anything Be Judeo-Christian, page 2. Well, it seems that Rabbi Halevi sees Kabbalah as being a line parallel with Hebrewism, and in fact predating. But at any rate, there is a continuity all the way through to Ezra and beyond. While it seems that Rabbi Wise believes that there was a discontinuity, which has as its fulcrum the captivity at Babylon, well, maybe they're not talking about the same thing precisely here, but assuming that Rabbi Wise includes the Zohar as part of the Talmud and the breaking away from Hebrewism, it does look like a difference of opinion, an opinion differentiation here. But at any rate, let's consider more. A third contributing factor to Pharisaism was the development and organization of the Jewish religion itself after the Babylonian captivity and the Maccabean revolt. Formulation and adaptation of Mosaic law by scribe and rabbi increased tradition and a more rabid separatism from almost everything resulted in almost a new religion, much the opposite from that handed down in the Old Covenant by the prophets. Now this is a citation from evangelist Ted R. Weiland, God's Covenant People, page 273, footnote triple asterisk, citing the Zondervan Pictorial Bible Dictionary, 1963, page 647, article Pharisees. Well, be that as it may, we do know that Yeshua Christ, when he was here on earth, did inveigh against the traditions of men. Was this not the received knowledge that he was inveighing against? That is, was it not the Kabbalah and the Talmud, the Dirashic interpretations of the law and the Dirashic interpretations of the interpretations and so forth, which all came to be part of the Talmud? Well, it seems like it should be that, but still, Rabbi Halevi seems to imply that Yeshua Christ himself was an adept at the Kabbalah, that he was a Kabbalist. Please consider. An aspirant can be allowed to do any real Kabbalistic work. He must be well grounded in his mundane life and in the theory and practice of Kabbalah. That is, he must be stable in Malkut, Had, Niza, and Yeshad. Even now, although he does rise up for a moment's glimpse into the world of spirit, it still does not mean that he can do it at will or sustain himself there at that level. Therefore, he is still below, between Tiferet and Yeshad, in the psychological realm of awakening consciousness. As yet, he is not on the way proper, which begins at the Tiferet gate to the house of Israel. Many are called, but few are chosen, said a Kabbalist. This is a citation from Ziv ben Shimon Halevi, The Way of Kabbalah, page 24. Now it seems to me that that last is a reference or allusion to Yeshua Christ, better known as Jesus Christ in the West. And it kind of is at one with a tradition of rabbis in their references to Christ in the Talmud to use veiled references. A Zadok is a just or saintly man. Zadokim are not born but made, partly by the assistance of God and partly by their own effort. No one becomes a Zadok against his will or is chosen. He chooses himself. By virtue of his own decision, he makes himself one of the elect of mankind. Ziv ben Shimon Halevi, The Way of Kabbalah, page 74. I'd like to draw your attention now to a matter of some import, I think. We feel that you should be privy to this. One of the initial hazards of inexperience is that the seeker may meet a man who either believes mistakenly that he is a tzaddik and teacher, or has been one and has plans of his own. The man who believes he is a tzaddik is eventually exposed as an impostor, because although he has read all the books or copies someone he suspects of being the authentic thing, he himself cannot produce real changes either in a disciple or in himself. His hints are sham, and the seeker soon leaves him with his illusions. Of greater danger is a man who has reached some level of realization. His quality is usually enigmatic, and he often possesses remarkable powers which he uses to intrigue and manipulate people who are not so evolved as himself. History is full of such men whose influence has swayed large numbers of people, as did Sabbatai Tzvi in the 17th century. He was a remarkable man, well acquainted with Kabbalah, who used its knowledge to persuade a whole community of Jews that he was the Messiah. He, like all who abused the teaching, eventually fell into the abyss of his own making. Alas, such men have the ability to fascinate and imprison people by their personal charisma, which is the exact reverse of Kabbalah, whose object is to free men from bondage. This is a citation from Ziv ben Shimon Halevi, The Way of Kabbalah, page 76. That's it, folks. A wrap. We're out of time again. This is Celebration. My name is John Savers. I'm your host. I do appreciate your tuning in. Hope to see you again next time.